We're just about to shoot the very last scene of our little film for Martini. This is the end of the story, where we have this woman starting by herself, walking down the streets of Rome, having men being very attracted to her and following her. So at the end of the story, it's like a lot of men kind of like following her, and she stops outside this bar and she goes in and enjoys her martini with our two surprise heroes at the end, which is Dolce&Gabbana, and they drink the Martini Gold. It was a collaboration with Stefano and Domenico, who I met knowing nothing about Martini Gold or the traditional martini, to be honest, and just hearing from them, from their perspective, how they were enthusiastic by the new brand and also the tradition of how they grew up with martini in their lives. And so it was a lot of listening to them, and then I met the martini people who had a lot to say about it as well, and we kind of like tried to blend that into one story. So that's basically the research we did, and then we started to look at all kinds of Italian movies, and in order to get to where we are now, we had a lot of different ideas. I think we had like 10 different ideas, and they were all going in all kinds of different directions before we ended up with actually one of the first ideas we had, which is this one. So that's usually the process. You do a full circle to come back where you started. But I would say that it's a nice collaboration between Martini and Dolce&Gabbana, and me trying to kind of like figuring out what they're saying and creating a voice for this campaign. I talked to the designers, and they have a huge respect for Martini, and I spoke to Martini, and they have a huge respect for the designers, and I'm kind of like in between, making sure that everybody's happy with this film and this campaign, and I strongly feel that we have different voices sometimes, which is just good, but the goal is the same. We all want the same out of this campaign. Obviously, Monica is fantastic to work with, and it's funny because I used her early as a reference for a strong woman that I wouldn't dream of actually having in the commercial. It was just a name that I had as a reference. And then when I found out that the designers know her really well, and it felt like it was a phone call away, because before I knew it, she was attached to do it, which was great. And I mean, she's been fantastic. You know, she's one of those women that, you know, I've been thinking about for the last few months because of this, and then when I finally have her in the front of the camera, I go like, wow, it's her. I forgot, it's her, you know. So she's been great and really adding to the overall story. It was actually Dolce&Gabbana who suggested Rome. I shot here a couple of times before, and I know it's a beautiful city, so I think originally we were thinking a little bit more southern style, southern Italy. But when we started to talk about Italy, it kind of like came clear to me that this is going to work perfectly. But initially it came from them. Everything is a little bit more loose in Italy than I'm used to, and I'm used to shoot all over the world, but especially in America when everything is very organized. So, but in a weird way, it kind of like in the last minute, it always works. You look at it and it's like a mess, and everything is like everywhere, and then when you actually do it, it just seems to work, you know. But I'm not used to it, no. But I'm just going with it. When in Rome, you know. We haven't thought so much about Dolce Vita, which is, I mean, we have, because you have to when you're in Rome, you have to. But I think in terms of wardrobe and style, I think we've been trying to find that balance that we have with everything else when tradition meets very modern. You know, so about half of these guys that we have as our actors are dressed in very modern, Dolce&Gabbana suits, and the rest is like a little bit more traditional, cinematic, strong character, style. So I think we have the same take on the look and the style as we have with everything else, that it has to be a mix. That's what I believe is going to create our own style and look for this film. I have the same approach on most of the projects I do, and I do need a lot of coverage in order to make my edits. And this is a pretty musical driven story. We have music in there, and I think part of the edit techniques I'm going to use reminds me of how we create music videos. But it's on the other hand, it's also very cinematic, and we have a great actress, and it's a little different, but still in the same world. For me, the strongest Martini commercial must be the one with Charlize Theron. I think it was shot in Cannes or something. It looks like the Carlton Beach in Cannes or something like that. But it's definitely for me the most memorable. Not so much because of her, because when I saw that the first time, I don't think I knew who she was. But I think it's a very strong. It has a sense of humor. It has a lot of style. It's a big one for us to compete with.